The ozone layer is absolutely essential for our survival and is currently so fragile that it's threatening survival on Earth. It regulates the Earth's temperature, preventing the Earth from overheating or freezing, and was first discovered by a Swiss chemist in 1839. Today is International Day for the Preservation of the Ozone Layer. So let's remember that if the ozone layer is to weaken, we can say goodbye to life on Earth. Welcome to Kaleidoscope with me, Savithri Rodrigo. It is our partners who keep us positive, daring, different. A big thank you to Skills for Inclusive Growth, Selinko Life, CDB, and the Morning Newspaper. Together, we make a good team. Keep us on your radar, subscribe and follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn.
Did you know you can open a digital fixed deposit with just 5,000 rupees? Open a CDB iDeposit digital fixed deposit today. CDB, your friend.
Here's our weekly roundup on CDB Snapshot. Worker remittances bounced back this August with a 16% increase to $325 billion, the highest this year. An all-time Sri Lankan record for travel documents has been set in Sri Lanka, with over 700,000 passports issued during the first 8 months of 2022. The FAO and WFP reveal that over 39% of Sri Lankans, or 8.7 million people, are not consuming an adequate diet. If cocktails are your thing, a hotel in Bangkok mixed the largest Negroni ever, an enormous 167.4 gallons of it.
Making all your new goals in life a reality is why our strength is your strength. With 12 billion rupees worth of customer benefits in 2020 and a life insurance fund worth over 100 billion rupees. Our strength is your strength. You focus on your goals. We will take care of the risks. Selinko Life.
We begin our Selinko Life news capsule today with the first in our series, the Pethiagoda Pages, where we chat with Rohan Pethiagoda, an award-winning environmentalist and researcher, as well as a man who has a practical grasp on issues at hand. Today we turn the Pethiagoda page to the tea industry, where picking the two leaves and the bud is facing challenges. The tea industry is facing labour shortages. It's facing high labour costs. It's facing fertilizer shortages, replanting costs, and uncertain world market prices. Production has decreased, as have exports. Rohan, let me ask you something. Is the tea industry dying or is it dead, given the environmental and social costs?
It's certainly premature to call in the undertakers. This is a vibrant industry. It's still earning more than $1 billion a year for our economy. It's keeping 1 million people in jobs. So it's hugely important to our national economy. So I think the tea industry is very much alive. There's many factories producing great tea, getting great prices. It shows that we can do it. There's also a lot of factories producing really bad tea. So if government takes a hands-off line and doesn't interfere too much in the industry, I think it's going to do very well, at least for the next decade or two.
So if we are looking at the next decade or two, what crops should we be replacing tea with?
No, I don't think we should be looking at crops, or anybody from the policy side should be looking at crops. These crops will come as a response to other factors. For example, how's the economy going to be doing at that point? If the economy is booming, there'll be a tendency for labor to move out of the tea industry and into other sectors of the economy. That will cause problems for the tea industry, and those might be good problems, because the industry would shrink as it shrank in Japan, in South Korea, and in Taiwan, to manufacture really world-class, fantastic tea as a niche rather than this big bulk enterprise that we have at the moment. So I don't see that as being a problem. On the other hand, climate change is ongoing. We know this now. We see its effects. So a decade or two from now, the tea industry is going to be adapting to this at the level of the landscape by intercropping, for example, or multi-cropping. And so we will see a change in the industry in that sense. But I don't think any of those things is a bad thing. And I certainly don't think those changes should be prescribed from above. They'll happen adaptively. Remember, there are 400,000 small growers, and each one of them has got a solution to this problem.
And so here's our market news for today. The all share price index moved up by 3% with the daily turnover averaging 4.4 billion rupees. Saudi Arabia and the UAE increased oil production by 790,000 barrels per day in August, keeping WTI oil prices at around $88 per barrel. This week, gold remained lackluster, trading just slightly above the lowest levels for the year at $1,688 per ounce. Workplace violence and harassment impacts employees of all genders and ages, and there's the cost of less productivity and negative effect on the bottom line for businesses. The IFC conducted a survey in a bid to create respectful workplaces. And joining me today is Sarah Twigg, IFC's Program Manager Women in Work, to get a better understanding on the impacts of workplace violence and harassment. Looking at this report, what were some of the most revealing aspects of the findings?
What we found was that 61% of the employees we surveyed had experienced some form of workplace violence and harassment. We found that 1 in 5 had said they'd felt unsafe at work at some point during the previous 4 weeks, and that ultimately companies are losing more than 6 days every year per employee because of these workplace behaviours.
So where does harassment occur and in what form?
So it can happen at work, when travelling to and from work, in workplace provided accommodations, but it can also happen outside of work hours and online. And what we found was that really these behaviours are affecting all genders, all ages and all sectors. We found that bullying was the most commonly reported behaviour, with 59% saying they had experienced some form of bullying, and more than 1 in 10 said they had experienced some form of sexual harassment.
So Sri Lanka has cultural and traditional boundaries. Those are to be overcome as well. But what are your recommendations to create respectful workplaces in Sri Lanka, putting all this in context in the immediate?
We know that when companies focus on creating a respectful workplace culture, it can really make a difference. So lots of companies are already taking action, things like putting in place policies, practices, ensuring that employees feel comfortable reporting behaviours when they happen, making sure that employees are aware and they receive training on what to do if these kind of behaviours happen at work. But also things like strengthening your online processes, so making sure people have privacy settings in place and that people understand what online bullying looks like, because we see that's something that's very under-recognised in this country.
The 39-year-old Aston Martin, owned by the new King of England, King Charles III, a gift from his mother on his 21st birthday, runs on English wine. It's actually biofuel made from surplus English wine. He was also the first heir of the royal family to earn a university degree. His bachelor's and master's are from Cambridge. And here's the clincher. His official title as prince was His Royal Highness Prince Charles Philip Arthur George, Prince of Wales, KG, KT, GCBOM, AK, QSO, PC, ADC, Earl of Chester, Duke of Cornwall, Duke of Rothesay, Earl of Carrick, Baron of Renfrew, Lord of the Isles, and Prince and Great Steward of Scotland. Speed up your reading with a free speed reading program with Sanjeev. Just let us know and you will be reading faster in no time. S4IG Let's Talk is next with Hema Shironi. Sri Lanka's history has multi-dimensional chapters, and as a result, our people in all our diversity have amazing stories to tell. Like multidisciplinary artist Hema Shironi, who delves into concepts of identity and home. Hers is a first-hand account of a child born to parents of opposing cultures, of spending her childhood bereft of any sense of permanence, constantly moving from place to place in a devastating period of civil unrest. Her nomadic lifestyle and experience of colonization and civil war resonate through her artworks, questioning the idea of cultural identity and what it means to truly belong. Welcome Shironi, and we are in familiar surroundings here at the Saskia Fernando Gallery because all your artworks are displayed here. And I just want to find out something. You're a child of mixed parentage, but your life has been one of impermanence, of travel, of migration, and growing up, you may have wondered as to who you are. How do you define your identity?
my mother, she is a Tamil speaking Hindu, and my father is Tamil speaking Christian. So I grew up in a multicultural background, and also there is no barriers for language. So we usually speak both language at home. But the thing is, when I came out from my family, then I became a problem to my surrounding people. So they started to question about myself. Later, I started to investigating who am I within the society. And also, I can say that I'm a Sri Lankan because I was born in Sri Lanka.
How has your long history of migration and travel shaped the way you think and the way you look at the country and also the world?
My great grandparent, he was from Coimbatore, India. That's only I know. But the thing is more close to me. My mother, she was born in Kandy, and my father was born in Matale. They was displayed to Kilinochi. Later, they couldn't bear because of the war, and also they lost everything, the family and also what they belongs to. They back to Kandy 1919. Then I was born in Kandy. So my mother, she don't know single word of Sinhala because she was a migrant when she was 3 years. So we couldn't stay at one place. We have to move from one place to another. So we moved to Matale, and within the city, I was being 18 or 20 houses. So these are my permanent address for short time period. So each time when I moved, I have to raise my everything to connect it to other people. So somehow the surrounding people also shaped my identity.
What lessons do we as a nation need to learn about our experience of colonization, of civil war, or insurgencies, and also what's happening right now?
From British, we got independent. Then we started to question about nationalism, racism, and also we use two language as our ethnic group. So then we fight for our rights. So people who engage with the peace protest, they use mostly in artists. They use medium as their weapon, right? So we are learning something from the present as well with the past.
Shironi, when you look at what's happening right now, are there parallels you can draw to your experiences and what's happening right now and back into history?
Of course, because even through my works, when I start to work, it's slightly engaged with my grandmother's history, sometimes her story. When I talk about home, I can say for an example, one of my work called Filtered Wall. So, which is I never been to that house, but we are building a new house on top of it. So when my grandmama talk about that house, I can experience when I living in that the same place, but without that house.
So you've used your needle to tell your story.
A needle is my medium to speak about who am I. So I speak about myself and my questions, but who were around me, they thought, okay, she's doing something, embroidery or something, it's like a girly thing, but I know what I'm doing.
So that's a good question for all of us to ask, who am I? Because that's where our story and how we define ourselves as a Sri Lankan or whatever country we live in. An entrepreneur who never gives up is Solomon Raj Subhajini, who embodies perseverance and courage. After losing everything in the war and living in a shed, she was not to be bowed. We are proud to showcase this spirited entrepreneur from Mannar on Life in 60. Solomon Raj Subhajini started her small business in 2010, using the abundance of palmyra trees in Mannar to launch Senthalir Palmyra. Initially selling her products only locally, the demand for her handcrafted products have grown to the point where she now employs 30 people and retails her products at supermarkets in Colombo, Kurunegala and Batticaloa. Subhajini is now on track to expand her business and move into exports. Today we raised some much needed awareness on our planet's ozone layer. And until we return next Friday, here's our Kaleidoscope takeaway. Love the earth as you would love yourself.